Welcome back to 3-Point Firefighter. Today's podcast is sponsored by Fire Facilities Incorporated, expert engineers, designers, and manufacturers of steel training towers, burn rooms, and mobile units that are all made in the USA. Our guest today, good friend of mine, Rob, the Iceman Blasetti. Welcome to the podcast, Rob.
Thanks, Maverick. How you doing?
Oh, brother, I'm doing good. It's good to see you. So we're going to play a little game. We're going to do something a little different. Okay, we're going to do something a little different. I know you've listened to all my podcasts multiple times, and you know I always start out with, hey, tell me about your department and where you fit in. But because it's you, it's my bro, I'm going to play a little game with you. You got to guess who I'm talking about, okay?
Okay.
All right, here we go. This person, I'm not going to give you a name, you got to guess, is a lieutenant assigned to the field training branch of the fire academy at a large metro fire department in Northern Virginia. Is it A, Rob Blasetti, 2, or B, Abraham Lincoln, or C, Abraham Blasetti?
I think I'll go with A.
It's A, it's Rob Blasetti. It's very, very good.
There you go. There you go.
Okay, this person I'm speaking of now is a member of the Virginia Task Force 1/USA 1 Urban Search and Rescue Team. Is it A, Rob Blasetti, B, Jake Barnes, or C, Rob Barnes?
The Barnes guy sounds familiar, but I think I got to go with that Italian guy.
That Italian guy. It is Rob Blasetti. Oh my God. Well, it turns out, I don't know if you realize this, but it's all about you. So today is all about you. Now, you also work for the city of Cape Coral Fire Department in Florida, big Florida fan. You held the rank of the Battalion Chief of Operations, and you also had to do special operations. Let's see, since 2006, you've been, we got to talk about this stuff here too. This shit's cool. You've been sharing with firefighters all around the country the effects of environmental and mechanical stress. Let me try this again. The effects environmental and mechanical stress has on decision making on the fire ground. We're going to talk about that, homeboy. Rob is taught at the FDIC. Did not know that. Orlando Fire Conference, Fort Lauderdale Fire Expo. Blasetti is a presenter for the National Olympic Committee for Sports Psychology and Athena Institute for Education and Research Conference on Psychology. But there's one very important thing you did not put on here, and I'm kind of hurt.
Well, the society.
The society.
I'm new there. I'm new. I forgot to put it on there.
Hey, when you're in, you're in.
Yeah.
It's like the mafia,
I'm still considering myself the new guy on that one.
No. We do the level of drinking you and I did in St. Louis. I think that earns you the stripes right then and there. I mean, we literally pre-gamed, then we gamed, and then we post-gamed.
Right. Yes,
all of which we planned early on. We're like, okay, we were done at the class, we're driving back. Rob said, hey man, let's just find a place to get some beer. We got a pregame, then we got a game. Then we got to get something for postgame. And we sure enough did.
And we got local beers too.
In St. Louis, the local beer is Budweiser.
Got fresh that. Budweiser.
We got Modelo's fresh. Yeah. It was bottled. That they were bottling it when we were getting it out of the store, which that store was super sketch, was it not?
It was perfect. Bars on the windows and everything. It was
it was rough. Now, you said earlier in one of our texts that you are a podcast virgin, right?
Yes.
All right. Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you just to sit there, okay? And you take all the questions I give you, okay? Can you do that for me, buddy?
I can do that.
Hey,
anything for you.
It might hurt a little bit at first, but I promise you, by the end of the podcast, you won't be a podcast virgin anymore.
Just go slow.
Negative. Brother Rob, how's it going, man? Tell me I do want to hear about where you're at now and what you do for them. I already know, the listeners need to know, because I think it's kind of a cool thing. Tell me all about it.
So at that fire department, it's assigned to the academy, but then I have this special project, I guess you could say. It's lesson plan and curriculum development and accreditation manager. So it's just a special term for right now. We're trying to get all of our lesson plans onto one template for consistency, but also for succession planning. So it's not just when Rob comes in, hey, I got a good idea, let's build this program. And then I'm gone. And then Jake comes in, hey, I got a better idea, let's build this program. There's a program, but then Jake comes in and makes it better. So it builds off and has a template. So that's the one thing. And number two is with that, anything that's state VDFP, so it's Virginia, anything that's state accredited or we have delegated authority. So getting all that paperwork and making sure that all of our lesson plans have references to NFPA standards or books or our manuals or anything that's there. It's not just us making it up. So right now, that's my job until someone takes it over.
So it seems like you're putting down a foundation that's going to have long-term effects. So when you're not in this position, your stuff is already there for the next person. They can build on it and they really can't start from scratch again though, right? You're building the foundation and they can bring some stuff to it, but the foundation itself is what it is.
Yes. Yes.
So,
and along with instructor development too. We do have a lot of good instructors, a lot of folks, they come up. Our instructors, the adjuncts, come from the field. So when you're off, you can come up to the academy, work for overtime. And we have a lot of SMEs, but we're trying to get those SMEs to find folks that are their brother or sister, if you will, and get them into the depth of knowledge of that topic or topics that they like to train on. That's where we're missing too, is it seems like a lot, at least where I'm from, folks like to hold stuff to their chest. Maybe I'll let you peek. You ready? I'll let you peek. Oh, you can't see. You can't get it. You can't get it. Are you ready? Ready? Oh, I'm going to throw out a cool term, stress inoculation. Oh, you can't get it. You get it. So all these, and then you try to steal it. So no, I did not. There's only coffee in here, I promise. But that's we're trying to put that too. Of this is try not to say the department name. This is a department programs. And it's not Rob's program. It's not Jake's program. It's what we're getting from around the country. We're bringing to the department, not really the department giving to the rest of the country.
Okay.
That's what we're trying to do.
It sounds like a lot of research and behind a computer. That's gotta suck.
Yes, it does. 100%. I do have some days peppered in to do search and survival and all that stuff, but I've been kind of told, your job's not to be out there right now. So,
yeah, that's probably more fun when you go teach with the society than when you put on your gear and play.
Correct.
Right on.
Yes.
So let me ask you about a couple of these things here, my man.
What you got?
Okay, first off, why'd you move from Florida to Virginia? How'd that happen?
Because it's too damn hot. So here's the story. I didn't get fired, which I probably should have, but I didn't get fired. So that's what people are like, did you get fired? It's like, no, why would you demote yourself? Well, you don't understand. There's a lot of little reasons. The biggest reason is family. I mean, that was the biggest reason. Right. The driving force was 06, 07, kind of like what we're seeing now in the housing market. Mm-hmm. Everything is so high. Well, it's going to crash. Well, when it crashed down in Florida, at least where I was in Southwest Florida, the mortgage went from like 22 to like 32. It was just overnight because we had at the same time they put assessments in, so it was water and sewer. We were on septic and well, so you had assessments which were on your escrow. Then you had no overtime. The fire academy had no academy classes. We had a business. That business, there was no more training. So all this happened like around the same time. So you had finances. Then you had the department, not being mature enough to deal with the things that the department was going through. That was on me. And it was just good for the family. And I think coming up to Northern Virginia and the DC area, the kids had a better opportunity for themselves, along with myself. Everything that I'm doing at this department, I know that I wouldn't be able to do where I was down there. And
so everything kind of lined up just perfect for you.
Yes. And we said if everything was gonna fall in easy, and when I say easy, I had to take the National Registry medic test. We had to move everybody. We had to move my mother-in-law, my grandfather. Everything seemed to go easy, as in there was no bumps in the road. I said, well, if it's easy, it was meant to be.
Yeah. And how long you been there?
10 years this month.
Oh, wow. Okay.
10 years.
So yeah, you went from a big BC of operations to a lieutenant. So you got to work your way back up there, huh?
Yeah, brand new. It was good. It was good though. It was good for me as a person. We're all type A people, and I'm not saying I didn't keep it in check, but just, the recruit class was good in the sense that you had folks that were coming out of college or just sit at home, and you had me as a BC, 35 years old, and it brought you right here. Yeah. So it was a nice, humbling experience for me. And it matured me. I wasn't mature enough in Florida to deal with the art of war up at the upper, command staff level. Tactics and dealing with the firefighters, I think I did very well at. I think I did okay at, but it was the upper games that I was not good at. From New York originally, so I'm more straight to the point. And
You're
I
from
don't
New
mind
York? I
saying,
had no
yeah, you
idea.
could tell. I don't say fixing. So sometimes that would get me in trouble. But
Well, was it a lateral transfer or did you have to start all over again?
brand new recruit firefighter, fire medic. This when I had a lot of good opportunities. They just started a tiller program, got tillers back in the county. So I was contacted by one of the lieutenants there that I didn't even know and said, hey, your background, I don't have to train you on anything else. I just need you to learn how to drive the tiller. I said, okay, how was I going to say no to that?
Yeah.
So I got to do that for about 3 years, probably one of the best crews I've worked with. I actually worked with them on overtime Saturday. So it was like being back at home. So I had great
you get to take
opportunity.
overtime. You can ride the rigs, even
Yes,
in the
now.
weekend? Oh, I think it
Yeah,
makes a
now
big
we can do
difference.
budget. Well, you do have to stay grounded that you do lose the pulse.
Mhm.
If you don't work the overtime, you do lose the pulse and you lose the not the culture, but you lose the atmosphere. Right now we're going through some tough times with staffing, and then you got the vaccine thing, and so it's, I'm stuck right now at a computer doing lesson plans and trying to help out some stuff. You lose out on that. So I think it's good not only to get reps, of course, but also to get the pulse of the men and women that are there.
I think that's a great idea. At my department, I'm the training chief. I don't get to take overtime, so I don't get that opportunity. And I think for a training officer, it's imperative to stay up on your skills. So I've been doing this for 8 years. At what point am I just teaching, from an academic standpoint? When's the last time I've been up on a roof? When's the last time I actually dragged, a hose to a fire?
Right.
Some of that can be alleviated by doing outside stuff, classes, and then also teaching, like say, for the society. But yeah, I think that's great. I think that should be the way it is just for every training officer. You should have to ride the truck and make fires and make EMS runs and all that stuff.
Well, within time, it helps out with that credibility, right? You stay in the office too long, and not that perception is reality, but it is, right? So
yeah, in fire
he's
service,
been
it
in the office
absolutely
for
is.
4 years. What does he know? Well, I mean, maybe he did miss a step. You got to make sure you still have that game speed down.
Absolutely. So let me ask you about this. So there's so much I did not know about you. I guess I should have been more humbled when I met you, because you're the Rob Blasetti. I knew Rob Blasetti just fine. The Rob Blasetti. Oh my God. No, but seriously, you you do some of the things that I really look up to. That you do the circuit. You've got good information. You've got an issue, you go around the country and teach it. But this one, the effects environmental and mechanical stress has on decision making on the fire ground. Give me that one. What are we talking about?
So I probably could skim down the biography by saying it's human performance for the fire ground, right? So training and it's the basics, but not all the advanced or the gimmicks, as I call them for fun, the gimmicks. It's all about how can we, and there's a process, but showing the process of training to perform under pressure, and that's what our job is, right? And the pressure part is the high speed decision making. No matter if you're a firefighter, a medic, EMT, officer, all of us have decisions to make, just at whatever level it is. So it's the human performance side is twofold: tempo on the fire ground and understanding it and respecting it. Going too fast we're not going to perform under pressure.
You mean physically going too fast, or decision making?
Physically and mentally, right? So if let me give you an example. For if you want to, what do you want, a mental or a physical one? I mean, they're hand in hand, right? But
well, hit me with both of them, man.
So here's an example that we've been seeing in our area, and I don't know if you have the basements, it is, but the culture of, and this is that human performance side. I'm not saying you can't train to this level, but we're trying to get this out here that you can, there's a process to train to get to this level. There's some folks out there that say, well, if you don't run on the fire ground, you're not a good firefighter. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm saying that folks should train to operate at that speed. I don't like saying speed, tempo, right? So it's just like a baseball player. I played baseball in high school. I probably back then could hit 90, 92, 95. Now, if you put me in the batting cage, I have to work up to that, right? I won't be able to hit that at all. Probably won't even be able to hit 70, but I have to start out at 66. Then as I foul some off, hit it up the middle, dial it up to 70, foul some off, you know what I mean? So it's building that tempo up and that game speed. So the example I wanted to use is this, as a culture. If you're on the second engine and I'm on the first engine, most folks, and maybe I'll throw this out there as a question to you, put you on the spot, and we'll see where the culture is. If the first engine officer, what are they normally concerned of about the second engine coming in, or the second unit? I say
bringing them water.
Right, that's tactically what's back in the back of their mind. What's that second engine possibly can do?
If it was me, I'd be thinking about whether they're competent enough to be able to back me up or get me out if I needed to.
Okay, that's good, and it's okay. I think it's okay to judge before. That's good, but what about, so in our area, doing the 360, one of the main stressors, right? So we talk about emotional components here when we build this training program. One of the stressors is time, right? Mm-hmm. That's a good stressor, right? When you put a time clock on somebody, right? You and I are going to race, right? Or we're going to race for whatever we're going to do in time. Mm-hmm. That now puts a stressor, right? Because now it's competition. So we could push the envelope on our normal tempo and we might mess up. That's that performance under pressure, right? The culture here is up, engine 9 is coming. I have to hurry up or they're going to steal my line. Mm-hmm. Right. Yes. There's that. As I'm doing a 360, I'm not worried about the basement or how many levels are calling out. I'm worried about, oh man, I got to hurry this up. So what does that do? Does that push my tempo over the envelope where I'm not allowing the guards to pull on a screen and start blocking as a running back? I'm just running past the guards. Well, what's going to happen when it's get tackled? So what, as the decision-making process and mechanical and physical stress, it's all together. If I'm not training myself in steps to get to whatever level or tempo that I want to get at, both physically and mentally, the environment's going to overrun that. It's going to put me in hyperdrive. And there's statistics, there's data, there's scientific data, sports psychology. Jared Jordet puts this out here with his penalty shot speech that he says at the National Olympic Committee conference. But it's all about being in control of the environment that is giving to you, right? So me doing a 360 and worrying about engine 9 taking my line, who's controlling me or engine 9? Engine 9 is. Yeah. Right. So my 360 either goes half-ass, or am I really looking at what I'm supposed to be looking at?
You're just checking a box. Well, I'm supposed to do 360, so I'm going to go ahead and rapidly get to my line.
Correct. And then why are we falling through floors, or why are we, when we go in, then someone else says, hey, there's fire below you, come out. I mean, we're not catching that is what it is. So in my mind, we're allowing the second due engine, or me thinking I have to hurry up back around to the crew to get in as fast as I can. Not saying we shouldn't go fast, not saying we shouldn't have a quick tempo, but that takes training, right? So it's all about packaging that. Hey, do you want to be at this level? Do you want to hit 98 miles an hour with movement and also be ready for the 88 mile an hour curveball? Well, we have to be able to train with those slide decks to improve tempo. So then we can call to audible if we have one and be cognitive enough to do that. That's all that decision-making process.
Do you think that the upping your physical automatically ups your mental, or is it the other way around?
So do you say physical in technique or physical in conditioning?
Probably a little bit of both. So we're going to use your scenario of doing the 360 and going so fast, you're not really paying attention. You just want to get back on that line. So if that happened, how would you go about redirecting that person? Would you say, okay, if you're going to start doing a 360 that fast, you need to train like that, and then hope that the brain is going to catch up to that speed? Or you're going to say, hey, you need to focus on seeing the things first, however fast you got to go. Does that make sense? Yeah. It seems like a fine line right there.
Well, it is. And it's really in anything that we do, right? I was just got off the phone with Ken Murray. He's the author of that Training at the Speed of Life. And he, it's funny because he said we should put on the back of our coats, slow the fuck down. But it's true, because if we just slow down a little bit, right, we take that second. It's that old adage of slow is fast, right? So it's both physical and mental, right? if I train at the level of, hey, I would rather jog, which I'm not saying it's wrong to jog. I mean, and it actually gets you ready for battle, gets you ready for, you warm up before you work out. So it's okay to do it. I'm not saying any of this is wrong.
Right.
It's just, I don't think we don't have to go as fast as we possibly can or can't to get the job done. If we just take a deep breath, and that's usually what it takes, right? Breathing, yoga does it to slow you down, combat breathing, belly breathing, Lamaze, it's all about calming this, triggering this parasympathetic nervous system. Is if my trigger, if I'm having a problem for myself, I find my focal point. And whatever my focal point is probably for me, someone on my body. Baseball players, their focal point is something that's in the field. So Evan Longoria, he would use a left field foul pole. So if he would miss a pitch or he'd do something wrong, Evan Longoria would look at the left field foul pole, and his focal point would reset him. Now, we may not have a lot of time to do that, but if for me, if I get spun up doing a 360, or if I'm allowing the environment to dictate what I do, then I have whether it's Velcro on my coat, or it's I touch my mask a certain way, something to reset me, that I can. All right, basement, and then either thermal image or take a look, force a door, whatever it is that you have to do to make sure what you got. Even for me coming from Florida, counting the floors, it rocks me. There's something about it that I don't know if it's the counting part or me slowing my mind down enough to say, okay, there's a basement, the access is here, I'm going to call it basement 1, 2, and just trying to look at that. I actually have to go almost tunnel in on it just to get it. It doesn't, nothing else matters at that moment, just because it's so important. The basement fire itself is so important, because now I'm going to ask men or women to go in and, with me, and then potentially can kill them. So there's a lot to it. And it's really, the training is about understanding what it feels like when you're getting out of control. So we can go on hours for this. So it gets so much more in depth, right? So the training that we set up, depending on which one it is, it's especially for the newer folks, here's what you feel like when you're starting to go out of control, condition black, we call it. Right. Here's what it feels like. So it's about being true to yourself. And then we get into instructors and how they are, because if you don't have good instructors, you would be perfect, because of how your personality is and how you treat people, is that it's easy to open up to someone like you. So
so what I'm hearing is you think I'm perfect.
Well, I told you that before while we were post-gaming.
Pre-game and post-game and game.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. So I talked about this last week too. It kind of came up. So we had this, the one thing that I do every year that people in my department seem to not like very much is my SCBA confidence course. Mm-hmm. It's one of the first things I came in with, and I'm like, I'm a big believer that you should not only know how to use your air pack, you should be able to master it. You should be able to give a class to, if you use MSA, you should be able to go to MSA's headquarters and give them a class and teach them stuff that they don't know about their air pack. I usually try to make it difficult, realistic, everything. But this year, the state has a trailer with 3 different levels. So the words was getting around. They're like, oh, this is going to be really tight, really confined, da, 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 da. So certain people were having issues with it, and they did great. Don't get me wrong, but you could tell they were getting nervous, and they would even tell me, well, I hate this. This is blah, blah, blah. So one of the things I will do is when you get into that lizard brain, I call it the lizard brain, the fight or flight stuff. There's physical, tells on somebody's face. This particular person's eyes were this big right before they went in. So what I did was to snap them out of that, even just for a second. I try to ask them obscure questions that has to switch out of that lizard brain thinking. They have to actually use their full brain to think. For example, what was the second car you've ever owned? What color was your mom's car? Who's girl you took to the prom, whatever. And you could physically see on this person, the eyes started to narrow and kind of look around. Everything looked more relaxed. And I try to teach them, especially if you go in as a company, if you see one of your people not, struggling, do something like that. Get them out of that lizard brain, fight or flight. I got to get out of here mode. So when you were saying that came to my mind. That, and you said I was perfect and super handsome. Well, I think you said super handsome too.
You got a good accent too, and kind of.
I don't. It's no. Maybe a little bit. I always like to say I'm trying to sell you meth. in Eastern Kentucky.
I'd buy
But
from you.
oh, sure you would. Sure you would. You're a good friend. But hey, I got a couple things. You've referenced sports quite a few times. I've got to be honest with you. Anybody that knows me knows I know nothing about sports. To make that point, I went to a sporting goods store a couple weeks ago, spent 2 hours looking for a football bat. So they may fly over my head. You might have to work with me on those. Two, you said the F word. So on my podcast, we don't cuss. We don't say shit or fuck or motherfucker or damn or motherfucking damn shit. Okay. Wait a minute. No. We do cuss all the time on the podcast. Never mind. Forget that last thing. But the sports thing. Yeah. That's my little joke. If you listen to my podcast, I do that every single time somebody cusses. It just makes me laugh. So I'm really interested in this. I think I could probably have about 11 podcasts with you because I think very little training is given to how you mentally attack some of these problems in training and in real life. And so I'm super interested in this. So maybe you could send me some stuff that I could put on the Facebook page and my Twitter and all that when this posts so people can kind of see it too. Because I think it's amazing. I think it's really, really amazing. What got you started down that path?
So, and I always try to give homage to this young man. Well, young man, he's probably about my age. 05, Paulie Capo, he was the officer at Clearwater at the time. I think he's in Colorado now. He was doing a firefighter RIT class in Ocala, Florida. And all of us, we were trying to get a heavy rescue stood up in Cape Coral. So the ops chief sent a bunch of us up there. Hey, go check out this class, and because you'll be citywide RIT, kind of like what Orlando does. And we went, and this young man was phenomenal. Probably one of the better instructors to this day that I've ever met. Just the way he presented himself, treated people, the charisma, he had the full package. And he had another person with him, and I forget his name, but my man had ripped jeans, built, tattoos, just hat on backwards, flip-flops, and he had this book called On Combat. And he was reading stuff out of it, and it just blew my mind. And all of us were like, where's all this coming from? And we looked at it, and through the years, it was, how can we build? And he didn't really do a lot of scenarios. It was all breakouts. It was all like static. It wasn't really scenario based, which is fine with the time that he had. A freaking awesome class. And so we said, well, how can we build this scenario for him? So you put the On Combat book with the book Training at the Speed of Life by Ken Murray, and they reference each other in each book. So that's okay. There's likes in there, right? They're going to meld together. And when you put them together, the human performance part and the training ideology part, it's a married pair. It's perfect. It's harmony. So that's how it started. And then through the years, and a lot of trial and error. I mean, trust me, there was a lot of trial and error with it. And we got it now. The opportunity that I have now in where I'm at now, the department, we have so many people that you can roll and get a big data set and how things are progressing, and it works. And it just works so well. So it's not just we were always doing it in RIT survival because that's the easiest way we thought the easiest way to get someone spun up, right? To get them teetering on that edge of condition black, where really is forcible entry. It's running lines, ladders, search. I mean, it's all of it. So even with search, using the human performance part and breaking your team out in oriented search of the officer, team lead, and the person doing the searching, and all the techniques and all, even breaking them out in the officer stays condition yellow, where the searcher goes condition red or gray, or optimal performance or flow state. Mm-hmm. So flow state's a whole nother topic we could talk about, but it's just breaking them out in those points and understanding the level of the mindset of where you want to be at to be able to operate at that high level, right? I want condition yellow, like NASCAR drivers. They try to stay condition yellow. They call it mellow yellow. Helicopter pilots in the military actually put yellow dots on their instruments because they want to keep their fine motor skills, because it's helicopter. They need them. Right. So if I have an officer that does that, I still expect the officer still has to look through the thermal imager, make decisions, plan B. If you find a victim, where are we going? Where's the flow path? Where's everything going? Where's the engine? Do I hear the hose line? There's all these other things that I need that person thinking, where the person searching, I want flow state. I want optimal performance. I need you to find people. That's it. I don't need, I got you. Because we don't, again, we don't train with the thermal. We haven't trained with the thermal imagers, at least where I've been from. They always just leave them in the rig. We haven't been training with our technology. Well, if we don't do that, we're going to do it the ISFSI way about searching all around the walls, right? So you can dive. It's not, we've actually got away from the survival part. And now all of the classes that we do, no matter if that's the part-time or the full-time, it's this ideology, just because it makes that much sense. And to your point of even to the folks that maybe that stuff was getting, for them, it was aggressive, that we are very big on the instructor-student interaction, where not coaching interaction, the interaction of, I am dialed into what you are doing quietly. I'm watching body language. I'm listening to your breathing. I am watching you. And I might need to just bring you to a level, like, I don't know, use a number. I might just bring you into one tight spot where someone else, I can bring them through all of it. And that's okay. When we let that person win whatever level they are, we'll bring them just a little past that level to win. And it goes back to baseball. And I know sports, but baseball hitting, if I want to hit 90 and I'm not there yet, what are we going to do? We're going to dial the pitching machine to 85. 85, I'm going to swing and miss, swing and miss, swing and miss, foul it off, right field, straight away. I'm dialed in. What I'm going to do, I'm going to dial it up to 88. I'm going to give increments up to try to get where, and still challenge the person, but they always leave winning. We always give them a little something.
Now, is there a way, when you're talking about training people with this, ideology or modality, however you want to say it, is there a way to quantify it as you're going along, or is it all done by pretty much observation, more qualification? Like you see something, or do you have actual written down numbers that you can say, hey, you're at this, we needed you here in training? Or is it just more observant?
It's all observant. I'm not very good at data stuff. It's tedious to me. Mm-hmm. So, and that's bad. I don't have any, and that's probably where Ken Murray might come in and get that dialed in for us. But it's more of watching the body language and how that's whatever that objective is, be met smoother, or being met the right way, or be met with confidence, or even getting done more confident. Because this, in anything, in any kind of high-speed sport or what we do, military law enforcement, swagger wins. Cockiness doesn't, but swagger wins. That confidence wins.
That's crazy interesting. So you go around and you teach this. Is this right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So now,
what do you like when I call you sir? So
yeah, I love that. You call me chief and I'll call you lieutenant. Is that what we're doing? I think we've seen each other in different states of sobriety that there's no formality with us anymore.
No, we're good.
Now we even buying those like $5 lobby beers, if you remember, near the end there.
Yeah.
It was getting ugly.
All the Budweisers were gone.
Yeah. Those were supposed to be post game, and we ended up dipping into those for pre-game. I even had to drive, if you remember, I had to drive Forrest back to the airport. So
you were smart about it. You did good.
I wasn't able to have a whole bunch, but when I got the Uber back to the restaurant,
you turned it on there.
I upped my game a little bit, even though you fucked me on the ham on the pizza. Oh my God.
That's okay. It was good. We got the cauliflower crust. It was okay. We ate good.
We did eat good. All right. Now,
what's the weird?
What's that?
That was some weird pizza. Whatever cheese they had on there, it was good, but I don't even know what it was.
Well, that's what they said. It was in St. Louis, and they said you got to have the Provel. Is that what they called it?
Yeah, something like that. It was real creamy. It was good.
And they said you could have that, and you got to have the toasted raviolis, and I had those. Those were pretty damn good.
Yeah, but they cut it weird. See, I'm from New York. They cut it like in little squares.
Little squares.
Yeah, the pizza. Remember?
Oh yeah. That was again different sobriety, so I sort of remember it. But yeah. So Peter Van Dorp, who's the president of the society, said I thought Chicago pizza was the thick crust and all that. He said, no, that's what we sell you fucking tourists.
Yeah.
Cut square, cracker thin crust. He said, that's real New York pizza. Or New Chicago pizza, I should
Chicago.
say.
Yeah. Watch yourself.
Sorry, that was on me. Sorry, Pete. PVD. So you teach at FDIC, fire conferences, expos. How'd you get on that circuit? What was the genesis for that? When did you say, I want to take my message out and help?
It was a long time ago, and you just happen to get into a crowd. Unfortunately, it's who you know. That we were putting the same summary in for FDIC for years, and then I gave it to another person. That person puts it in, but because that person's connected to this person, to this person, to this person,
Oh,
oof, here you go.
yeah.
So that's it's just fun doing it. It's we think that we have, not that we're trying to have a niche. We've been a part of, because I've done this. I worked at a fire academy in Florida, and we did it because that's all we knew, right? So it's almost like paying homage of, wow, we were really messing that up. We understand a training mindset. We understand the human performance mindset. How can we give back to help everyone else get that same mindset? It's there, right? There's a lot of instructors that they'll sit in a lecture and they're like, you know what, we do that, but I didn't really know how to package it, or it validates what we're doing. Well, that's great. I mean, not that I'm anybody, but at least it's a peer saying, well, here's how we do it. And there's, fancy terms or whatever you want to call it. But that's, I guess you could say that's why we're in it, is trying to spread the word. I mean, that's the only way we know how to do it. I mean, Aaron Fields from Nozzle Forwards, I mean, he's the best at it. I mean, he does probably one of the better jobs of spreading a message, right? We'll never be that good, or nor do we look at being that big, but just a platform to just share information and to keep it open enough that they can share back.
Now, is this interstate rescue you're talking about, or is this a different? Because you got multiple irons in the fire.
Yeah, it's interstate rescue now. So for a while it was just myself, but my, you got 1099s and all kinds of stuff. So there's a gentleman, Brian Gallimore. He's the manager. He's the owner of Interstate Rescue. He started out doing CPR. He was a lieutenant at my station, and by myself with John Lockwood and all these guys in Florida, we did a class down in a truck class in North Collier. And when I came back, he was like, "Hey man, did you need any thermal imagers? Did you need anything? I can give them to you." And then here we are. I mean, it was just, well, we've done this. Here's what we can do. There's a lot of us that have a platform, I guess you could say, or there's not me. There's others that have a following. So how can we get a vehicle to allow them to share more, right? And it's business, and I know it, but these guys don't want to get paid, but there's insurance involved. What if they get hurt? There's life insurance. What if the plane crashes? So and as much as we want to do it ourselves free, because again, the fellowship that we had, to me, is priceless. And
Absolutely.
I'm not being funny that way. That's what we love.
Oh yeah.
But my wife upstairs wants money. It's what it is, right? So she knows, she's been around for a long time. We've been married 20 years. She knows what we're doing. She is good for you for doing it. But the kids are older now. But think about all the guys that are working with us. They got young kids. Mom's home alone for, sometimes we're going out on a Wednesday and we build out, do all the stuff. We're home on Monday. So we're asking these guys to go for almost a week. So it's a platform it's business, but it's a platform for these guys and girls to go out and share their knowledge and help mentor other folks. I mean, that's what we do. So Interstate Rescue is what we do it through.
And you got a pretty big cadre there.
Because we don't play into my business is better, your business is this. We don't play into that. It's, hey man, Basil, you have a message, come with us for this time and share your message. I mean, he's as good as they come. He's probably one of the better young men I've ever met in my career. Just awesome guy. Grant Schwalbe, Jason Martin in Florida. There's McCormick from Chicago. These guys all just, we get a class and we ask them to come, and they come and they share, and we have a great time and go home. There's no drama. There's no competition. It's all of us just sharing information.
I've noticed that that all these high, well, first off, first thing I noticed doing this podcast is all the people that I've had on here are as humble as they come. For example, you mentioned Basil Ibrahim. He goes, he told me, he's like, man, I'd be glad to be on your podcast, but I'm nobody. I'm going to dilute your content. I'm nobody, but he has such a great message. And I know he works, you guys work together. He had nothing but good words to say to you. I was a little jealous. I was like, well, wait a minute. Does Rob like Basil more than me? So I had
I
to
mean,
question that
he is better
relationship.
looking. He is better looking.
He is very well. He is better looking now. He did send me a picture when he was 306 pounds.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I was a better looking guy then, but now he's obviously lost all that weight.
He's a good man.
He's a great guy.
But it's almost in a selfish way too, because you push to get the classes just so you guys we can hang out. I mean, that really drives me to work extra. The side hustle is, hey, if we get this RIT survival class in Bridgeport, all right, now we have Basil coming, we have Jason Mart, we have all the guys coming from Florida. It's really like, if we could do that once a month, man, we'll probably get sick of each other. But dude, it's all about how much can you learn, or how much just the fellowship of sitting there having a beer and just talking shop, just like the coffee table. That's your learning time.
It absolutely is.
And all of us working, at work, unfortunately, there's egos, and there is not one ego. We did a big conference in Bridgeport, West Virginia, and there were 16 of us, and there was not a piece of drama, ego, frustration, nothing from anyone. And even it was noticed that we had to redo some things, and a lot of people, some stuff broke, and we got together. It was like, what about this? What about this? It was like, yeah, let's do it. There was no ego. There was no, I'm better than you. It was beautiful.
That is amazing. That really is amazing, because you would think in the fire service, there's so many big ass egos, but when you get instructors together, it's all about sharing the message. And to your point, it's fun. I'm sorry, this thing's going off like crazy. It's fun to teach. I love teaching. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. There's nothing like being around a bunch of go-getters, because the classes we teach are the people that are giving up their weekends, their days, or time away from their family to learn something. That's great. That's awesome. And that was how I got into it. But the networking, I've always heard about how important networking is. And it is. It's a blast. It was you, me, Jesse, Marcotte, right? Mm-hmm. He's currently still the mayor pro tem, by the way. I have talked to him. He's going to be on here. And I said, I can't, you'll be the first mayor pro tem. He goes, well, you only got 30 more days, and I'm not running for re-election. I said, okay. But, and Forrest Reeder, especially somebody like Forrest Reeder, you talk about humble, and that guy's seen and done tons and tons and tons. So it's a lot of fun. Anybody that's so if there's anybody listening and they're thinking to themselves, well, I'm just, a backstepper. I'm nobody. Well, you're already there. You've already got the right mindset to be an instructor. Looking to be an instructor, look at the ISFSI, look at some of these other companies that when they hire or help. I know Aaron Fields said a lot of his cadre are people that come and take the class just over and over and over. It's just a great subgroup of the fire service. It's like the best kept secret is instructors. Again, no ego, no nothing. It's just pure, unadulterated knowledge. That's all it is.
And when we're doing our classes, we always try to look for 3 or 4 people that, because it's no matter if it's a full-time or part-time hustle, it's all about succession planning. So your message is only as good as what you go, right? I mean, I believe this, and I don't mean any disrespect to anybody, but after you retire, there's a shelf life. There's a shelf life. So after you retire, it's going to dwindle, right? And it is what it is, because things change, things evolve, things change, ideologies, ways of doing things, they just do. And do you miss that, right? So when we pick out 3 or 4 go-getters in the classes, and we always offer them, hey, we'll get busier, come on out and help. We'll give them something for it, of course, but they start helping and watching how we interact with the students, the students, attendees, right? If they come and even for the recruits, even where I work, you try to be careful because you want to give them their time, but how about you eat with them? Let's not let the instructors don't have to sit at a table. We're not special. Right. Let's go sit with the firefighters. Let's go sit with them, because they might want to ask questions. And I always try to pick out the quiet ones, the ones that maybe are a little bit timid. I'll just go sit with them, maybe try to open them up a little more. So we just try to make sure that we, just for succession planning and just for pushing it along, is getting those folks also involved with us, just because we have an interstate rescue. We have the ability to do that and to get them in and build that cadre up, man. You can find, just because you're at a small department or a volunteer department does not mean you don't know what you're doing, or doesn't mean you don't know how to treat. Really, if you treat people well and you have depth of knowledge of what you're speaking about, you will win.
Right.
It doesn't matter where you're from. You
Absolutely.
could be from the biggest, baddest fire department in the country, but if you come with a bad egotistical attitude, you're going to shut everyone off.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's another thing that surprised me when I started talking to, heavy hitters is well, for example, Mark Alone, Mark Alone is just awesome. His writing is awesome. The guy from Fire Inside, for those listening, check out the Fire Inside. You know who Mark Alone is. Mark comes from, I think a one station house, but he's an amazing firefighter. He's an amazing instructor. He's all about getting that message out. Now, you don't always have to be from New York City or Boston or all that stuff. So yeah, absolutely.
So here's just it, and it goes with the neurolinguistic programming too, which is a fancy term for just how do you train in steps, right? And unconscious competence, conscious competence, all that. People do it. So it's nothing that Rob made up. I think a lot of us are doing it. I think we're missing some key components. And I'll give you an example without giving my department away. So it's walk, crawl, run, jog, sprint. And there's some play in there, but really it's that leveling up, if you will, of intensity and or what we call emotional components, where some people call stressors. We got off the stress inoculation stresses, but we got off of that because it is, but it's human performance is really what we're talking about. So with the levels and the way it is, look, we do breakouts, right? The breakouts is to do what? Either refresh or show some ideas. And we did it in the basement fire class. In any of the classes, a lot of people do it now, which is good, but it's a static drill. They call it a static test. It's static. This is a bar, it's 30 inches long, it has an ads, it has, what do they do? Just to get into that depth of knowledge of that technique or objective that you're trying to hit. Unfortunately, at conferences, the conferences are challenging because it really goes against to our training methodology, right? If FDIC, you have 55 people going into an 8-hour class where we run 18 people in a 2-day class, same class, but that's how they do it. So how can you show that or how is it supposed to be done? So the idea is, even if you and I know forcible entry, even before we go through that, what we call a high level or complex scenario, we believe that we should be giving the student the opportunity to practice, refine, refresh, or learn. It depends, right? You and I could, hey man, we could be guys from New York and we force doors every day, but at least you're giving me for that morning a rep to win, a rep to meet that objective, right? And then once you do that and get the static down, then we can start chunking things. So if one breakout was forcible entry, another breakout was primary search, another breakout was cognitive quick mask, right? Just quick mask, but cognitively asking questions and actually knowing your surroundings as the mask is going on. So if we can now, let's take breakout 1, 2, and 3, and we can start chunking them. Right, we get to the door, we force a door, we do live fire layout or mask up, and as we're doing that, we have some conversations, and then we start our search. Right, so that can be constituted as a low level scenario. Really not a storyline to it, but we're chunking different breakouts that were objectives together. Low level scenario, not a lot of emotional components put in, other than if we have to put the tint on your face on the shield or depending on what. But then we can kind of flip it. All right, you and I are doing very good, or the attendees are doing good. They look pretty sharp. We gave them a rep to get their tempo going. All right, I didn't work with this guy. This guy's from Seattle, and I work at Northern Virginia. So different terminology. Now you and I, we start clicking, right? Mm-hmm. All right, there's a tempo, high level scenario. All right, you two are responding to a residential house fire and report a people trapped. Then we come from either the fire engine responding. So we try to give them, if we have the opportunity to, now at our academy, we can respond and all that, just with the space we have, because we want to provide the most realistic tempo that there is, right? We don't start outside in the front yard with our mask on and our bottles turned on and say go. We usually start at least at a roadway, right? So if we don't have a fire truck, we'll have a radio. The radio, it's weird. People are like, well, a radio is not in a fire. True, 100% true. But the radio, psychological wise, the radio helps induce flow. So music in the midbrain helps induce flow in the amygdala. So that's what we want to try to hit. And that's if you read about Burning Man and flow states, Rise of Superman, Catching Fire, all those speak about music. And well, when we go to the gym, what do we usually have on? headphones that has what? Music. And what does that do? Gets us going, right? Kind of gets us aroused. Don't get happy by the term.
Yeah.
But we'll put music there. We use Metallica, one, because I'm old, two, because it is clean, believe it or not. So, you got to know worry about that. But you put Metallica there and you'll see how 100% of the time, the students or the firefighters will allow Metallica to run to overrun their tempo every time. And it's trying to don't allow that to happen. It's just Metallica. Let it play and allow it to get your flow in, but don't allow it to manipulate your environment.
Do you mean that they physically try to move to the speed of Metallica's music, or they're not? I'm not clear on that. So you have to. All
right. So here's a perfect example, because it happened, and this is kind of how we fell into it. Two firefighters on one of those fire innovations blue doors. Hinge side on the left, they were doing outward swinging door. Same bar person, same strike, right? They did it over and over. They did it about 4 or 5 times. These guys were dialed in, looking out. Like, these guys know what they're doing. They knew how to move the bar. They were very smooth at what they did. So we put the walls up, right? So now you have it, just a little bit tight. The bar, you can't cheat a little bit and put the bar on the outside of the jam. And these guys got it. They're moving, and they did it. Same bar person, same strike person, and they did it 4 or 5 times. All of us watched it. Man, that's pretty good. That had me yipping in their ear too, so that was good. So I was like, hey man, I'm going to try something. I want you guys to do exactly what you did, but now I'm going to give you just a little bit of context. All right, hey, we got a report of someone inside. They said they were right out by the door. They couldn't open the door. They had a key. They couldn't get the key in their door. You got to get in this door. And I put Metallica Black on, a little teeny tiny speaker. I put it right on the wall, which was right about here. It was hardly loud. And that bar turned into a baton. Same bar person, same strike person. They went through the door. They went through the door with the wall. I put a little bit of context that now they have to rush more. And I put that Metallica there, and they allowed the storyline and the music to overrun their tempo. They were trying to go too fast physically and mentally. Right. They overran themselves. They didn't allow the guard and tackle to block and make the hole, right? Running back has to kind of stutter step and allow the play to develop. We're very bad at doing that. We go 100%, which we just got to dial it back, and just showing those guys, look, take a deep breath. It's the same door it's the same exact door, the same person, the same strike person, the same wall. The sun is in the same place. Everything's exactly the same, except I just gave you context, and I put Metallica there. That's the only difference. And you allow that to win.
Now, after you tell them this, after you see them struggle with it this last time, they did great before several times. Now you got Metallica, you got context. And after you tell them how to maybe overcome this, do they immediately go right back to where they were at?
When they do it again, they almost have fun, because it's about let the context and the Metallica own it. Like, take it, like use that as energy, right? So if I have, and it's the same thing as, okay, take that whole scenario out, and it's real, and we're coming around the side of the house doing VES, and I have someone hanging out the window. I still have to do everything right at the same tempo that I normally do it at. Just because the person's hanging out the window doesn't mean I'm going to go faster. I should be training and operating at that high tempo that is good for me. It does that shouldn't allow me to go fast, but allow that to get me in my zone. Allow everything that we do to get me in that. The flow is zone, right? So with the whole responding and our tempo and how we set everything up, everything should be getting us ramped up to when we get there, and now we're in flow. Just like a starting pitcher is getting set up to do a long toss, to warming up, bullpens, they're getting ready for the first pitch. So it's ramping it up. Allow your body to get ramped up.
So it's important to, if I'm hearing you right, learn to crawl, walk, run, jog, sprint on the training grounds. You should be operating at that high level, get yourself up to that high level. So when you do see a person hanging out of a window, you're not having to kick it into a gear you don't have yet. It's a gear that you've been, okay. That makes sense, because I could see where in that situation, again, what I call lizard brain, that very, very pinpoint, narrow view of what's going on, and you have to be the one to solve it all by yourself. I could see where that would kick in, and you would probably end up fucking up the rescue. But if you're constantly training and you're at that level, I could see what you're talking about. That's, again, super fucking interesting for me. I think that is crazy because almost everybody talks about using your thing about forcing, here's how you hold the Halligan, use this side. You don't really think about the middle aspects, which makes sense to me because I've always said the bigger picture is probably more important than the individual tasks. Now, when you're brand new, you got to learn those tasks. But when you've been on for a while, your brain knows it. Your brain has it in there, right? So it'd be more about what's our bigger picture here and not worried about, well, you're going to use the forks or the ads.
Right.
You should have that skill set already. That's really interesting, man. I like that.
Well, and those skill sets are perishable. And I know I go back to baseball. It's baseball. We work with Catherine from the Baltimore Orioles too. So it's just baseball to me is a very mental game, right? It's a lot of folks that don't understand baseball. There's two games. It's the physical aspect of the game, but it's also a very mental game, and it's more even mental in self. So in baseball, you're learning how to win under failure, right? If you get out 7 times out of 10 times, you're a Hall of Famer. You're a Hall of Famer because you got on base 3 times out of those 10.
Right.
But you got on base 3 out of those 10 times because your mindset allowed you not to be a failure, right? So everything relates back to that, what I mean? So I apologize for that, in a way, but where are we going?
Well, I'm going to interrupt you anyway, because this is, again, fascinating stuff. So Let me ask you this. Is it easier to teach new people coming on how to control themselves mentally for the physical aspect of the job? Or is it easier to teach older people that mental component that they may be lacking? Which do you think is easier? Wow.
I think the younger folks coming on with no experience are definitely easier because you have to deprogram the senior folks. You have to get past the ego of me being senior. You have to get the past of, oh man, you're messing, which I say too, right? We come up for the field, right? Your routine is shot. You miss your coffee. I mean, there's everything. So you have that, that attitude, if you want to call it that. We all have it, right? Oh, I don't want to train. And then it's now you're going to do things in front of me. So there's all and then it's just bad habits. And why are we doing forced entry again? Baseball players hit off a tee every single day and they make millions of dollars a year. Why? Because it's honing your technique or refreshing on it, So I would say personally that it's easier for the new folks because they don't know any different. But everything in all of it, we saw this. There's a lot we're seeing, but we saw this because we have the right folks getting into our sections in training. Basic training is the one that we can screw it up the most of. So here's an example for you. And maybe I don't know how your state and state testing and JPRs and check sheets and all. The check sheets, if they're not built right, can be flawed, right? So here's an example. If we had a young man on a fire call, right? I'm going to try to be vague. I don't want to point. So we found out that what if we had a firefighter pull a line perfect on a real call, pull a line perfectly, get to the front door, and then they go in. The line's charged, masked up, everything's on, PPEs, everything's right correctly, and they go in through the door, but they don't wait for anybody. They just keep going. They didn't wait for the officer for the 360. They didn't wait for the buddy to put nothing. Everything just went and brand new. Mm-hmm. Where's the flaw? Is it just because he's a hot dog? No, could be. I mean, but so you look back at the check sheets. What does the check sheet do? And this is a lot of state testing, right? For the JPR Fire 1 and 2 or minimum standards, whatever you call it. They like to do things in singles. Well, because I have to test you, right? So if you look at the testing, which we saw, one person come off the rig, run the line, get down on both knees because we have to pray, I guess, before we go in the fire. So we get on both knees, we put our mask on. That's a whole nother. We put our mask on. We pop the nozzle a couple times, right? Can't have kinks. We have kinks, we fail. So I get all the kinks out, and then guess what I do? I hook in and I go in by myself. That's the tech. Oh, you gotta be done. Minute and 75 seconds. Gotta go. There's the wrong context. So is that specific testing? Think about that call. Are they related? And I believe they are. So when we're setting this stuff up, you have a responsibility to make sure you do it right and drop that ego. Hey, Jake, man, I set this cool scenario up, man. It's the best scenario ever. Hey, man, check it out. Vet it for me. Rob, you can't have the guy going in by himself, bro. That's not what we do. Or at least the officer come around and say, hey, basement's clear. Or, hey, man, go, or go together. Make it real. There's reality-based training, format, philosophy, static, dynamic, low level, high level, complex scenarios. That's a philosophy that induces emotional components. And then there's realistic. Realistic and reality-based training are not the same. They're different. Realistic is I have furniture, there's water, I respond in, there's a fire truck. I have the fire simulators. I don't use dummies, I use people. That's realistic training. Reality-based training is a ideology, a philosophy on how we're going to set up scenarios. And setting them up is the key. If we set them up wrong, we're putting the wrong checklist in the mind, because that's all we're doing. The idea is this training with the emotional components are opening up that lizard brain, the amygdala, right? That's open. Right. Whatever we're filing in there is what we're going to pull in our playbook, right? So that's the key of it as an instructor or a program manager is you have to build the scenarios and they have to be consistent. Because if not, if we told the pilot and part of their checklist was not start the engine, well, they're not going to start the engine. You see what I'm saying? It has to be the algorithm has to be right, because our brains are predictors, right? But the fires aren't the same, but our minds, when we get to the call, looks at it, predicts what's going on, finds the file or finds the slide, pulls. It's no different than Brady getting up on center. He already called his play. He gets on center, looks at the defense, Omaha. It's calling those plays. He's predicting the defense. All right, the defense is going to do that.
You're talking about tennis, right?
Football.
I don't know which one that is. Let me ask you this. I had a thought, but that damn tennis joke was in my brain. Sorry.
Yeah, I did the same thing earlier.
So here's my question. So is it important? If so, how do you do this? How do you actually, is it important to get them to that, we don't use the word stress, right? That level, that almost lizard brain level, you have to train there to put those cards in your amygdala, right? So how do you constantly have to train at that level to get them stressed, or again, lack of better words, or do you get them right to that level? I mean, what are some of your tips and tricks for those listening if they want to say, hey, you know what, I need to do this. I want to take Rob's idea and start training. How would you go about doing that? What would be step one, you think?
Step one, always find your objective. What's your objective? Is your objective forcible entry? Is your objective search and rescue? What's your end objective? What's your goal? If it's a big scenario, then we have to build out little scenarios and we have to build out multiple objectives, right? You see what I'm getting at? So if depending on how we're going to run this, you start off slow, and there's not a race when we start off slow. Hey, just force a door. Depending on what level they are at, but you start off slow. Hey, force a door. I'm not looking for all I want is a technique. We're going to talk. Hey, try this. Move your hand there. That's it. As you start ramping it up, that's when you can add little things. Smoke detector, right? If you're going inside on something, right? The Bullocks fireboxes or the fire simulators are freaking awesome, right? Because it's something that you have feedback. It's not a cone with a light blinking, right? You don't have cones in fires, for Christ's sake. So if you have something, if you have them, but try to put something in there, that emotional component, and just keep adding. But as you're adding that, keep pushing the throttle just about where they're going. Again, you're throwing the ball faster. You're pushing them a little bit depending on that person, and it might take more time than other people, and that's okay. But just keep pushing. But keep adding those building blocks in there. It's chunking everything together. It's if I want to get to this end goal of running a box alarm, but to run a box alarm, we have to do breakouts and forcible entry, search and rescue, throwing ladders, running lines, hose management, fire attack. So we break that out and then we start building them together, low level, high level, complex. And you start building, it's a symphony, you start building it up.
Oh, wow. That's good imagery. I like
that. Try not to, the biggest thing and I've done it, and it's hard because conferences, they just squeeze your time. Hey, you force the door once, looks good, box alarm. You miss all that in between. right? It's I just hit off the tee as a baseball player. Now I'm going to go see Garrett Cole. It doesn't work that way. They hit off the tee, front toss, flips, batting practice, now game. There's a process to get warmed up for the game. So in training, try to make the time to ramp that up. Even if it's quick, right? If we have guys and girls that are coming from the field, we might just give them some reps as a refresher, right? They don't know how to force a door, run lines. We'll see if anyone's having trouble. We'll hone in on them. Then we go make the play, run the play.
It seems like the class that we teach together, the basement fire class, is kind of geared towards that, because you have 4 different stations and you're just working within those stations, smaller groups, learning that skill set. And then by the end of the day, you put them all together for one big live burn. Is that kind of the same idea?
It is. I think our class, ISFSI's class, I think the scenario is more, really, it's still low level, only because, and I think a lot of us got away from this, which is good, only because we have that live fire component, and because of the reps that we have to do, because we have so many people and they have to be done in a couple hours. You can't really put the fire all the way out.
Right.
So it's more, we try to thread that needle. We're not giving them a contextual storyline. We're like, hey, remember when we did the line and managed the line down the stairs and flow in and moving or flow in moving. We at least put in, it's a lab. So the rules of engagement, we always give rules of engagement. Here's the intent of this scenario. Is the intent on the scenario to have a lab and to show you the thermal imager, the convection currents, what to do when you open the nozzle, how to move, and hey, what's a better way, and getting down to the fire? Or is it the objective of a scenario because you're putting everything together at high speed, right? Then you give them a contextual scenario. So there's 2 different things for the ISFSI class. In my mind, it's a dynamic. They're static. We're still teaching. For when I put in, we go in, we still have talking points. Stop, right? Scenario. You don't. There's like you were doing with your guys. It's Socratic questioning. I'm not in scenario world, complex scenario world, or high level. We're not stopping them unless it's a safety issue or their minds getting spun up. Other than that, we just let it go. It just there's no instructor interaction. There's no one standing by a doorway and say, "Oh, you can't go that way." There's none of that. It's pure. It's built out contextually as pure as possible. And if we have to interject, it's Socratic questioning. What's going on? Well, I can't get through this door. What were you trained to do? Get them back to cognition. So I know I kind of rambled all the way around this way, but
no. I'm fascinated by this. And, it's probably a good thing I didn't know this in St. Louis. I'd have probably just bugged the living shit out of you about this the whole night, because again, says a couple of times now, it's just amazing to me how we focus on the physical more than the mental. And, and then we're always so surprised when there's failures, and we all fail, but not every failure is unavoidable. Some of them are. Brother, I got to tell you, I appreciate you being on my podcast today. Loved it. I'm going to put in for Fairfax. So hopefully we'll teach together in December, which will be our Christmas gift to each other.
Yeah, that'd be great.
At the beginning, you self-described podcast virgin. Now you are a podcast slut. That is what you are.
Yeah, that's how you like me.
Dirty. Like them dirty. Brother, I appreciate you being on. Look forward. Well, I'll bug you with text. You know that. I like to send a bunch of inappropriate stuff as soon as I can.
Bring it.
Yeah. And that last time I was texting you, you're like, "Oh man, I'm getting ready to go up on stage." I'm like, "What?" Yeah, I'm at the expo. I'm like, "Motherfucker, you're in a suit and everything, all fancy-fied."
Yeah. Oh, that thing I fit. I was surprised I fit. I was a 10-year-old suit. It was pretty good. My shoulders a little tight, but
you can get them big muscles in there. Come on, it's all right.
Yeah.
Elastic on the sides. I know how you roll.
Fat moves.
Thanks again for being on, brother.
Hey, thanks for the opportunity for sharing, man. You're a special guy. You're one of those people that I saw you in the garage, and just how you interact. You're one of a kind, and you just keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate it.
I appreciate that. Back at you, man. We had fun, didn't we? Yes, I think we met, and within 3 seconds we were old friends. I'm not exaggerating, am I?
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. And then I was breaking away from my group. Every time we took a break over to fuck with Rob. Hey, Rob, what's going on?
We had fun. It's all about the fun. But you know what, too? I know when people are there for a class and they see the instructors having a good time,
Yes.
there's no more sizing up. There's no more who's what's bigger than you. It's just firefighters being firefighters at that point.
Absolutely. Absolutely it is. And then, so I got Larry Conley's coming on. Uncle Larry's coming on. I'll talk to him this weekend. Jesse Marcotte's coming. I had Brian on, but he had to reschedule. So he had him scheduled, but he had to reschedule. So, I'm like you. I go to these trainings and I meet some of the best people in the fire service. Bottom line, you're one of those guys, brother. Absolutely.
Oh, man.
Without a doubt.
I appreciate that. I don't think so, but I appreciate it.
All right. So today's podcast was sponsored by Fire Facilities and Rob Blasetti, designers and manufacturers of realistic built-to-last training structures and mobile units for 30 years. Make training count. I know Rob believes in that. Visit firefacilities.com for more information. Thank you, brother, for being on.
Thank you.